Good morning, good morning, good morning to you. And to those on video, really good morning to you. I just always love a little extra video action. So good morning to you all. Hopefully everybody can hear me all right. I'm working on this new webcam that I just love so much, which is a little different than my headset. I feel like I miss my little helmet on my head here. But so good morning, everybody. Yes, good morning to Stephanie and Sandy. Say good morning, everybody. Colin, good morning, man. Say good morning in the chat. What's up, Brian? Good morning to you. We got a couple people driving. Love it. I love when you guys are able to not get in an accident, but still being able to see you while you're driving. Good morning, Facebook world as well. Good morning to you all out there. Melissa, good morning to you and Karen and Pat, my regulars on Facebook. Oof, happy Monday to everybody. Did everybody have a good weekend? Give me a thumbs up if you had a good weekend. You had a good weekend? Everybody have a good weekend? My weekend was like in a flash it went in. So happy Monday morning. Mondays, I always get to have my conversations with Mike Kastner, mornings with Mike. I start off with him at 8 a.m. and we just always touch base on what we got going on in our world. So it's always nice starting my Mondays off with him. But I love doing Maxwell's Mondays with Maxwell because John Maxwell has been I really, really enjoy listening to him. I enjoy reading his books, and being certified coach with him is just, it really is amazing to be able to hear all this. Like, the guy's amazing. He really is. I enjoy listening to his stuff and reading his stuff. So let us start off with our affirmation this morning. Everybody now, something good is going to happen to me. Something good is going to happen through me. And so my name is Brock Zevian, life coach, business coach, real estate agent, and a dad. And it was a crazy dad weekend. Let me just tell you, we were doing the soccer tournament, and I just say to myself, like, my payback for some of the craziness I did is being in a hotel with a 4-year-old 24/7, 3 days in a row. Like, let me just tell you, Bryce Sunday, he goes, "Dad, are we going back to the hotel?" I said, "No, son, we are not going back to the hotel. We are going back to our normal house where we can have a little bit of distance." Because let me just tell you, he was like attached to my hip. It was great, though. I enjoyed it. We were down in Wilmington Beach, and Brielle did really well at soccer. I had one of those dad moments where for those that have kids, and you try to coach your kids, how many of you, it doesn't work very well. Like, they just don't want to listen to you. At least right now, there's like, "Dad, I got it. You don't know anything." And so I've just been having that moment because, like, I coached for 15 years, but she does not want she doesn't want anything to do with me. And she did really, really good this weekend, and I was just very proud of her. So I had a dad moment, and then I had another dad moment real quick. I had my first time ever, I had to give her a curfew. So, like, you're in the hotel, and like all like the members of the team, the girls just want to like roam around. And then I had another dad moment that there's a boys soccer team as well in the hotel. I'm like, who set this up? I should go down and freaking talk to who did this? Like, who made the boys and the girls have a soccer team together? Like, I had my first dad moment, 10 years old, and I'm negotiating with her 10 o'clock curfew. And I actually was about to go to bed. And so Bryce and I were sleeping in the bed. I'm like, all right, I'm exhausted. I gotta go to bed. And then I roll over to say goodnight to Brielle. I'm like, wait a minute. I can't go to bed. She's not even here yet. So then I had to stay awake a little bit. So I had my first dad moment of curfews and everything else. So it's for those that have experienced it, yes, I'm very green to it, and I had my first episode. So anyway, so good morning, everybody. Happy Monday to you. Let's get into things. Mondays with Maxwell. The law today is law number 13, the law of the pitcher. The law of the pitcher. So statistically, 89% of people will mirror and follow what people see. 89% of people will mirror and follow of what people see. And this is very, very true in my life right now, of kids, of children. They mirror and watch what you do and what you see. And it is amazing to me on just some of the things what my kids pick up and what I do. As a leader, I will also add that you are being watched by many people. We're all leaders in some capacity on here, whether you lead your family, lead a church, lead your school, lead your kids, lead Like, you all are leaders, okay? And many times in my life, I start to like reflect. I'm like, nobody's watching me, nobody's following me, nobody really cares. And really, in those moments, they are watching and they are seeing and they are looking at you and make good and bad. So let me just tell you the law of the picture, it's good and bad. Good and bad take place. Don't think people aren't watching you try to do something bad. Okay. Just as much as they're watching you do something good. And I had that this weekend when people were asking me about drinking, because drinking is such a huge ingredient. And I'm not nothing, trust me, there's nothing wrong with drinking. But because I don't drink and because I carry baggage, that follows me everywhere I go, whether I like it or not. And just like when people tell me that they have to fire somebody, or celebrities tell me about their tough spot that they're in, I said, that is the lifestyle that you entered in. Like, when you have to fire somebody, then don't become a leader. Like, if you have to fire somebody, don't become a principal, don't become a CEO, then you don't have to fire anybody. But I typically don't feel bad for people who are in a position that that's part of your job. Like, when you went in for job responsibilities, roles and responsibilities, that just becomes part of it. At the same token, watching you is part of your job. People will watch you and people will mimic you and see what you do. And so one of the things that I learned in this law is that your qualities of what you bring to the table, and let me also add this. This is not like a Monday through Friday gig, okay? Chad's kids don't watch him just Monday through Friday, like, oh, I get to go back to being Chad or whatever he wants to do on Saturday and Sunday. Like, your kids are with you 24/7. When you are working, your people around you are 24/7. When you are at a restaurant, when you are at an occasion, when you are out at an event, you are the pitcher 24/7. You don't get to do that. You don't get to choose. When you are in a leadership role, you don't get to choose. When you have people following you, you don't get to choose. When there's a payroll, you don't get to choose. All these things take place under your watch 24/7. And I apologize in advance if you don't like it. Then get out of what you're doing then. As a leader, it troubles me. It very much troubles me when I see coaches on a soccer field showcase themselves, yell, scream, and be very disrespectful to other players, to parents, and on the field. It drives me insane. I'm like, if you don't like what you're doing, why did you fill out an application to be a coach? Like, you are going to be on that spotlight. You are going to be on the sideline. People are going to be watching you. So when I go to these events, it just amazes me when I see coaches do what they do and parents do what they do and what they like. I can't even, like, on a soccer field, like at the 50-yard line, the halfway point, to me, the law of the pitcher is people are watching you and listening to you. And when you're in between that field, like, I don't ever sit at the 50-yard line because the one side of the team is right there to the next to you, and the other side of the team is like right there. So like, you can hear each other. And it's like, I think the most drama-filled people like to sit right there because they want to hear each other and they want to battle back and forth. And I'm like at the complete other end. Actually, I have no choice because Bryce is typically running around with his head cut off. So I have to like keep him away from everybody. But the thing is what people like, you are on that spotlight. People are following you and watching you. Now there's 4 or 5 points I'm going to bring to the table, okay? It says modeling insight for leaders. But here's the thing. When you say the word leader, I think it could be a parent. I think it could be anybody in your church. I think it could be anybody in your school. I think this mirroring and this monitoring are for anybody across the board, Karen. And I think it's very, very important that you understand the different steps that are part of this, okay? And I'm going to share with you how I do this. In the real estate world, I use this exact blueprint for people wanting to get listings. And this is why I don't have a traditional team. My team concept is I practice this law right here and model how to get listings, how to do this, whatever it could be, whatever industry you're in, okay? You want to take people and you want to model what you're doing. And these are the 5 steps that John talks about. And this is what I do in real estate as well when it comes time for listing presentations, okay? Number 1 is people you lead are always watching what you do, okay? That's the first one. You just have to understand that. We talked about it in the beginning, but they were always watching what you do. Okay. You don't have a choice. Number two, it's easier to teach what's right than to do what is right. Okay. I find this many times when I'm coaching and training people, like, this is what you gotta do your income producing at this time. You got to be able to do this at this time. You got to go through and making sure you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's and everything else. And then many times I catch myself, I'm like, why am I not doing this? Why am I not like I just told somebody there's no shortcuts, but here I am trying to do a shortcut. So it's very important that it's easier for us to say it than it is for us to do it. Okay? We say it many times to our kids, don't be following everybody else. Well, that's the easy thing to do, is to follow. A leader steps in a different role with that. Okay. Mark Twain, there's a quote here: to do what is right is wonderful. To teach what is right is even more wonderful and more easier. I really like that, because it's many times when you get to teach somebody and you get to watch them grow, I think it's amazing. It's like a success story right there in front of you. Number three, we should work on changing ourselves before trying to improve others. Okay, that sounds like the law of connection, right? We have to work on ourselves first before we start trying to change other people. It's very, very important that we focus on ourselves first. And many times we sound that this is selfish, but it's really not selfish, guys. You have to work on yourself. Okay. The most valuable gift a leader can give is being a good example. And then they did a ranking out of this, and leading by example is 26% of your character, meaning like what you're providing out there leads far greater than anything else that you can do, like social media or like videos or anything else, by actually doing it and people seeing you do it. That's why speakers have such a impact, is because they're doing it right in front of you, or they're like, you can like literally see them and follow their action. I talked about it, I think, on Friday. I always say to myself, would my kids be proud of me if they watched me each day? Would my kids be like, man, you're a good dad, you're a good worker? You know, obviously they're too young, but as they get older, would I be proud of my actions if my kids followed me each and every day? And then I even say to my parents, like, would my parents be proud of me if they follow me around? If my parents saw me, would they be proud of me on what I'm doing? Like, man, Brock, I could see my dad like saying to me, like, man, Brock, I thought you were a little bit better than this, or I thought, like, this is what you do during the day. Like, it would like blow my mind, because I want to make them proud of me, just like I want my kids to be proud of me. So one of the things that I mirror when it comes time for real estate is, so when I first do a listing presentation, and for all those that are leaders, okay, you first must, when people are coming on board with you and people you're teaching them, you first are going to literally, it's called mainstreaming. You are going to bring them in and you will lead them 90% of the time. When you're coaching people, when you have people on your team, when you have people in your organization, just like it is with, like, I do it as simple as kids. Like, when I'm brushing Bryce's teeth, I have to show him 90%. I like literally have the toothbrush in his hand, and I have to show him literally what to do. Okay. In leadership, when you are going and you're teaching people to do things, you must 90% of the time really take them underneath your wing. Do you understand that this is probably the hardest part? Most people don't even get to the next step, because why do you think we don't even get past step two? Does anybody have an idea why most people don't get to past this first step of actually doing the work 90% for somebody else? You may have an idea. Most leaders are typically drivers. They don't have the patience. They don't have the patience to go through that process. The reason why virtual assistants struggle and why we have such a huge component in our 30-day concierge service is leaders don't want to take the time to train. Their ego gets in their way, saying, I don't have time to do this. You don't have time to train them, okay? But I guarantee it, if on the back end of it, I'm sure Chad would love to have 5 mini Chads working like Chad does in the organization that he does. He would not get upset if he had 5 Chads working the way Chad wants them to do it. But there's a gap of growth between the start and where in the expectation. And most people just don't spend that time period wanting to do that. They just want to get to the end game. Why can't you just produce? Why can't, VAs, why can't you just do what I ask you to do? They are learning you. They are trying to figure you out. They're not going to instantaneously get it, but we don't get to this point because our actions don't follow that. So once you actually take that 90% and you you are showing them, you then are going to teach them. Step 2 is teaching them. So step 1 is showing, mainstreaming. They basically are following you. They're looking over your shoulder, and you're actually taking the action steps and doing it. Step 2 is teaching them. Step 2 is actually teaching them and saying, let me just share with you what I did here. Remember when I sat down and I did this market analysis? Remember when I sat down and we did a P&L? Remember when I shared with you why I said this? See, this is the most strenuous part, okay? Because now not only did we do the action steps, but now I have to teach it. And this is where I think a lot of people fall off because we don't know how to teach. That's why they say teachers are one of the top people in the real estate or whatever industry, is because they're really good at educating and teaching. Okay. The problem is we don't know. We're not trained. I mean, how many of you have taken a class on how to train people? Anybody take a class on how to train people? No, I went to school for it to become an educator. There's a process that goes in. There's 5 different ways to teach children. Just like I've learned there's 5 different ways. Like some of you on here would like me to walk you through the process and hold your hand and be like, okay, let me go this. Some of you be like, Brock, just throw me in the middle of the pond and I'll figure it out on my own and I'll find my way. That's just inclusion. You're allowed to go in whatever level that you want to go into. Then there's modeling and mirroring, all these different steps. And if you want to, Google steps to be able to train, steps to be able to teach people. There's different ways to do it. And not all of us are adapted the same way. Chad says it all the time. Listen to understand, not to respond. It's the same thing of the concept that we as leaders, we have to be able to recognize people's learning magnitude and what they absorb and how they produce it. The next step after you get to literally teaching or coaching them or by action, then you're teaching them, and then you have to learn to let go. You actually have to take a step back, and you have to be able to absorb. And then you're getting into a point, like just like it is coaching, you're now going to step back and you're going to coach them. Basically is the coaching concept of being like, okay, I need you to go out and do it yourself. I need you to let's go with it. So now this time when I go out my listing, this is what I do, my listing presentation. This time when I go out, when I do this, I don't say as much. They have to either move forward or they're going to fail, but you got to allow them to go through that process. All right. So you're going to go through this and you're going to observe it. Now, the last one is multiply. Okay. You're going to empower and multiply, meaning that you are going to completely remove yourself. Now, leaders, bear with me what I'm about to tell you. Okay. You are going to empower and then you are going to multiply, meaning that you want 5 Chads, 5 Glens, 5 Mike Cassers, 5 Stephanies, whatever it is, you are trying to multiply and build your business and build your company. Now, here's the hardest part of this. Okay. Statistically, how many of you would feel that if you hire somebody, okay, Lisa, if you hired somebody and you brought them on your team, that they are going to stay with you the rest of your life, right? See, as owners, we get bent out of shape when somebody actually took what we taught them and they grow on their own. To me, that is the best compliment you possibly can do to help somebody grow, but we get bent out of shape. Can you believe that this person is doing the same exact thing under their name? The nerve that they have. Like, wait a minute, you taught them everything that they know. That's why I think John Maxwell is brilliant. He has over 45,000 coaches sharing and spreading his word. I mean, how great would it be that you have, Sandy has like 4 people in her multifamily platform going out there, door knocking, grinding, napkin math, doing all these things, learning how to sustain properties and doing this. And like, that is huge. And then you brought them to that level, you share with them, you help them, and then you coach them, and then you empower them, and then you let them go. And then what you should do is ask them for a testimonial. Ask them, do you mind sharing a Google review on how we've been able to work together? That is more powerful than anything else that there is there. And so the law of the picture is actually sharing the big picture, okay? The law of the picture is actually showing the vision of the big picture, because the people, just like your kids, if you are a good mother, a good father, a good parent, do you think your children want to be like you? Do you think they say, you know what? I want to be like my dad. I want to be like my mom. I want to do what they're doing. Okay. There's not too many times that if you got a drinking alcoholic jackass parent that the child says, you know what? I want to be like my dad. An abusive relationship, a drunk. They're not gonna want to be that, because if you listen to Ed Milet's story, his father became his hero after he stopped drinking. In the beginning of his life, he wanted nothing to do with his dad until his dad decided to change his life. And part of that was my story to me, that I didn't want my kids to see, like my kids have never seen me drink. And we started to have that conversation with Brielle because she's getting older. And so she's never seen me. And she's starting to get a little intrigued to see what that's all about. But my kids have never seen that side of Brock, which is like, it's very crazy inside my head to think that. But that's the picture. This is the picture my kids have. Unfortunately, my ex-wife, she saw the other side of the picture. And so when you are talking to people with the law of the picture, I want you to write this down, that the law of the picture is a vision of the bigger picture that you're sharing. Because the more you grow, the law of the lid takes place, is if all you grow here, on here, and you raise the bar and you all become leaders, everybody around you will see it. Okay, I say it many times to people. Imagine if for people who don't get up in the morning and they're trying to have a good morning routine, I said, you know the best way to fix that? They're like, what would that be? I said, just come live with me for a week. And they're like, oh, I don't know about that. And that's because if they're around me, they're going to get up at the time period that I get up. Cullen gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Okay. If you're around Cullen, you would probably start to get up around his same time. Wendy and I used to go work out 5 o'clock in the morning, and then COVID happened to her. But we would be working out. Why? It's because she just saw the picture. There was a bigger picture involved with it. So I'm going to challenge you. What bigger picture? Go read my Facebook post this morning. Go read my Facebook post this morning where it talks about surrounding yourself with people to elevate you. And the second part, more importantly, is who are you elevating? Because if we're just going to be a sponge and surround ourselves with people like, oh man, I love being around these people and raising me up, but you need to be raising somebody else up. The law of the picture is 89% of people are watching you. And what are they thinking about? If I followed you, Glenn, if I followed you, Christian, if I followed you, Chris, what would I be saying? What would people be saying? What would your kids say? What would your parents say if they watched you today and saw what you did day in and day out? So guys, that is law 13, the law of the big picture. You can always YouTube it. Now there's two different parts. There's the law of the big picture and the law of the picture. They kind of go side by side because the vision is the big picture of what you're trying to mirror out there. But that's what I got, guys. It is a Monday. Does anybody have anything they want to add, say? Maybe it was like, Brock, that was terrible today. I feel like I didn't bring a lot of energy today, and maybe it's just because I'm exhausted. I don't know, but maybe I need some more caffeine. But everybody, anybody got anything they want to add or say? Cullen does. He probably wants to tell me what time he really wakes up in the morning.
Oh, you're right. It is 4. No, that was great. And you made me think about, there's a guy I know that is an extremely successful sports coach. And I was talking to him one day, he had lost like 100 pounds. And I said, what inspired you to lose weight? He said, you know what? He goes, I was interviewing for an assistant coaching job with a guy who I admired and respected and really wanted to work with this guy. And he said, he looked right now, he goes, you know what? You know the game and you're a great teacher, but I cannot have you coaching athletes and talking to them about discipline and self-control when you're 100 pounds overweight.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have discipline and self-control yourself, you can't tell them to have discipline and self-control.
Yep.
It's changed my life.
I think of it too, like if you had a trainer and you're working out with the trainer and the trainer was completely obese and overweight and showed up late, I don't know if I like, if that would be a really good, because what you see is it. Now somebody might be like, well, Brock, you're just being judgmental. Maybe I am, but I just think as a trainer in that position, I think you should also mirror what you're trying to, show off to people and help them and have the discipline that comes into it. So, all right, guys, Cullen, I appreciate you. Chris, we are coming to my house. Chris, yeah, Chris, you want to come on over? He wants to come on over in the morning. Come on over, bud. 4:40 we start. 4:40. I just got word, big news in the morning mindset show. Chad and Christian are switching up, guys. Christian is coming in on Tuesday, and Chad is going to end our week on Thursday. So news flash, just got it in here. So guys, I appreciate you all being on here, and I will see you guys tomorrow at 8:15. For Christian, guys, YouTube some of the stuff on the Maxwell laws. It's really, really good. He does a really good job on explaining a little bit more in detail. And don't forget to get the book. One of the best books out there. Guys, have a phenomenal Monday. We'll see you guys later. Thank you so much. See ya.